Yo, 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 Keith Ferranta here with my new son, 2 years, son in the family, married to Macy Landon Stankiewicz. So good to have you here today, bro. And we've already had a conversation. We're having another conversation. And genuinely, like you said, caring about them.
Yeah.
That's different than showing up for work and doing your job. It's
Yeah.
like what you're doing. You take an intentionality to, like you said, chip away.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's like a ministry key. If you could see this as, like a pastor talking to you, like a prophetic pastor talking to you, and teaching you, if you were at a Bible school, teaching you how to be a minister, a pastor. Okay, carry the grace. What's the grace of a pastor? We're all supposed to carry the grace of a pastor. We're not necessarily all like equipping pastor, but we're all supposed to carry the grace. And what is the grace? Care about the people in front of you, like you were saying. Chip away at them, genuinely, even if they're closed off.
Yeah.
This is your ministry assignment. You're not telling them that. You're just loving them each time, saying hi to them.
Yeah. It's like you love without intention.
Yeah.
If that person is going to be touched by
without
the
an
love of the
ulterior
Lord,
motive.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if I never see it myself and I don't get them to that place, I did what I was supposed to do because I'm loving them without anything behind it. I'm called to love, and you're called to.
I love that.
The question, the number one thing that you're called to is the people that you rub shoulders with every day. So it's like, I don't have a following, I don't have no. You literally, who do you see? You got a mailman. Be nice to your mailman. Like the people that you run into, that person in traffic that cut you off, just let it go today. Let it go. Throw up a prayer, throw up a blessing today. I didn't do that earlier and I should have. But I think just like let's bring it back a little bit and like look like your wife, your husband, the people that are in your house, like that's number one ministry. Like this whole entire thing that Keith is doing here, that we're doing here, is all about family, and that's where it starts. And now it's like, okay, let's expand a little bit beyond the family. Who else is around that we can allow our family to impact by the way that we conduct ourselves, by the way that we love well.
That's so good. It starts with the family. You have to get the win by loving well the ones in front of you. If we talked in a previous session about just a little bit of our journey.
Yeah.
If you can't even get your heart to love someone that's in the family, how are you going to be able to sustain love out there?
Yeah.
And maybe it might seem easier to just love people out there, but in the long run, it'll have a crack in the foundation because you didn't get a win at the closer. But like you said, so once you have that, protect that and then take it a step out. I like that old saying that says, friends or family you choose. So, and Jesus was a friend of sinners. So you begin to include people in that heart of family.
Yeah. And I think too, like what Keith's saying, if we didn't work out what we had going on, like once we were on the same page and we had communication, it opened up my capacity for the random people that I come into contact with. Like you can have all those people you choose as easy ministry targets in a way, but it's only going to get you so far if you don't deal with these roots down here. These roots are all dried up because you didn't deal with your family stuff.
That's so good.
And so these flowers, they look cute, but if the wind blows, they're just gone.
Wow.
So I think it's really important. Like for a while, sorry, mom and dad, if you watch this, but I had a lot of resentment towards my parents, and we've talked about it. We're besties now. We talk pretty often on the phone. They don't live where I live, but once I was able to forgive them for whatever perceived slights there were and move past that, it just opened up my capacity as a person. And what's crazy in the kingdom is the more I give and the more that I let go, the more I gain. And it's just incredible because I feel like you feel like you're a million feet higher, like you're just walking taller. You get that strut in your step once you walk through some stuff that you've been holding on to for so long that you didn't realize was weighing you down for so long.
That's so good. And also, the enemy doesn't have authority to like jab at that in the most strategic time when you're trying to do this cool thing.
Yeah.
And the enemy comes in, bang, and hits your offense or hits an unresolved wound. He doesn't have an open door. So then you're able to, in the long term, have more impact because the enemy sees, those when we hide.
Yeah.
And we're not congruent. And so I liked how you were trying to protect your parents there. I just wrote, about 25 books ish about my family journeys, and
That's fair.
and I remember my parents. I used to, and I know Mom will be watching this. Love you, Mom. They were nervous a little bit when my new books would come. Okay, what's he
Yeah.
going to say about the family?
Yeah.
And I remember my first book. It took a long while to try to. Okay, how do I want to talk about the journeys of relationship, because how is anyone else going to get breakthrough?
Yeah.
If they don't know we have human relation, we're human. We make mistakes. We had to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so I try to, work hard at honoring language, but like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to share some stories, but how do I honor so it doesn't really paint somebody in a bad light in their mind? And
Yeah.
it's challenging to do, but I love one of my mentors, what he said. He said, it's like, you know what? We have a great family, but we're not a perfect family.
Yeah.
And I'm a good father, but I'm not a perfect father. And I like that language.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should just be a little bit more like, none of our families are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We have good families. Some of them need a little more healing than others. And so if that's you, go on the journey to do that.
Working through that stuff, obviously you and your parents are cool. Me and my parents are cool. And then, like you're saying, sharing that, but sharing it from a place of healing, I think is key. Because I think a lot of folks will be like, they'll share from a place of partial healing. You know what I mean? And I think that true, I'm an open book. If you want to talk about anything, let's talk. Like anything that I've done in my life or whatever, because I think that's the real, true vulnerability. Not me telling you I'm being vulnerable, but I'm only 50% not telling the whole story. I think that's where breakthrough lies in in conversations and in relationships. And so I think that that's what's kind of cool is you're processing that out in those books. Is like, I have the healing in this, and now I want to write about it, and I want to give a blueprint. That way someone else doesn't have to spend 10 years feeling this way about one thing mom said or one thing dad did. It's like the point of it isn't, not to expose. And obviously you had those conversations behind the scenes and with your parents, and you're protecting their heart and all that. Yeah. But if love is the motivation behind what you're doing, love is what's going to come out. Yeah. And if anything else is, then it's not. It's going to be pretty clear too.
And you're right. We need to be healed, and we're going to keep getting healed.
Yeah.
More layers.
Yeah, for sure.
So others can get healed. This is you're like you said, I want to be able to give to others what I didn't have.
Yeah.
And so that was a healing moment even for you. And now you're releasing the healing of caring for people like an older brother does. And your position to people, whether they're younger or older. And I know you've shared some stories. You got this guy that's 20, 30 years older than you, that you're an older brother too.
Yeah.
You're operating like Jesus to him, and he loves you, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it's funny because two things, like I just told my kids when they were, especially my daughter at 15, I said, daughter, just go get some counseling. I'll even pay for it. So you can get your dad issues out of the way earlier on. Because as much as Heather and I tried to do the best and try to, we had some great relational mentors and we were growing, and we fell short. And it's just like, I think if we as people can own that our failings are not about us being a failure, but are just a part of the imperfection of being on the planet. And we're trying to get better and better and healthier and healthier. But then also, then I start, I've taught different conferences. Remember, I was teaching one conference about fathering and family, and Heather was there, and I'm helping other people with the blueprint of getting healthy. And Heather's like, you need some inner healing. So more was needed.
Yeah.
It revealed that
I think,
even though I was bringing something, and the people in there were like, this is amazing. I'm getting so much. They're crying.
Yeah.
And then Heather could perceive, because she's close to me, you need to go on another layer of
I think that there's a key that Keith's giving out keys too over here. Pushing leaning into that healing reveals that there's more layers, because we're never going to be a finished product until it's all said and done. And so pushing into that, you were like, oh, you know what? There's something else. And it's an exciting thing now. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm a dirtbag and I have all this baggage. But as you share and you even hear other people's stories, you're like, I actually haven't been healed in that area. Maybe this person that I'm sharing with actually does have a breakthrough, even though I have this breakthrough. And I think it's just really cool to just continue to push and not just be like, okay, cool, I forgave my dad, we're good now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I need to push into the relationship a little bit, if it's a safe thing, of course. Push into the relationship and lean into some of those things that maybe were a little bit hurtful before, and like what you were saying, even with Heather's dad, and like calling him dad and different
Yeah.
things, like pushing into what you don't want to do because there's something still a little bit there, you know.
Every one of us has, and the thing is, even when things we're talking about, there's no, not one size fits all. Like
Mm-hmm.
calling somebody dad is not the ticket. It's a heart journey for every one of us. What is the thing that God's after? What is the trigger that's kind of holding you back? Um, so like I think all of us have to just be honest with our own journey and be willing to be real about it. And I think, as I'm 50 now, maybe I'm getting a little bit more mature, and it's like I try to be more gracious with myself even in the journey, because I fall short. But I used to beat myself up, because once like here's the blueprint and then you fall short, then you can beat yourself up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what is the journey of relationship? It's really an inside scoop in how the Father is to us. How we're trying to be with others is how the Father is to us. So now I fell short. You think the Father's upset at me because I fell short on the relational journey? It's like, no, son, I want you to be more gracious with yourself. So I feel like I've gotten better, and because I used to beat myself up sometimes for a year.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd say something and I'd hurt somebody and I'd clean up the mess, but they wouldn't maybe forgive me, and then I would just be under the guilt of it for a year or two. And it's like, why don't you just give yourself some more grace? Okay. You do your part to clean up your mess, but like, don't live under the guilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move on. Keep moving on. Be more gracious. Accept your imperfections. I think there's a book about that, about the gift of imperfections. Like, accept your imperfections, and you don't always have to be strong. And you know what? The more you do, it's like, even you think about layers of healing. Maybe it moves beyond forgiving someone all the time to, okay, I see their imperfections. Instead of always just tolerating them and being frustrated with them, I'm going to celebrate them in their imperfections. And maybe we could even have some humor around it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I have humor around. I try to joke when the family brings out one of my imperfections, and they're not trying to bring out your sin, but like maybe I just do something. Maybe there's just things that they'll make fun of how I eat, stuff like that. Like, okay,
how he texts us.
Yeah, or how I text.
When he sends the letter K, and that's unacceptable.
I did that yesterday to Mason, by the way. You're just not. Yeah, you're learning to embrace your imperfections, others. You kind of bring in some humor on it.
Yeah.
Yes, you're trying to grow in relationship if it really pokes somebody. But I think even for me with my parents, it's like, let's accept them in their journey. I want to be accepted. They have imperfections. I do. Why don't I enjoy them with their imperfections instead of tolerate them?
Yeah.
Because I want to be enjoyed for my imperfection instead of tolerated.
Yeah.
And it's like Scripture, the golden rule: do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And so, well, this has been a great conversation. I think we had several conversations here.
Yeah, we did.
But it was really rich, and I really appreciate the wisdom, Landon. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen with you. And it's so fun to see how the ministry of caring and pastoring and God's heart in ministry of reconciliation is coming through you, and as a model. Because the next generation, I think, is a much more relational generation, if they can get their heart healed. Yeah. I think a lot of them have kind of deconstructed church, but it's like, what do you have if you've deconstructed something? Have you built something else? And so I love the fact that you're not against church, but it's like, here's another way to be effective, and it doesn't have to look as much of a behind a pulpit, in a church, up on a elevated stairs. You can still have a pulpit. It could be in a coffee shop, or at a house, or on the street. And this is ministry. This is administering God's love. And so Guys, if you've enjoyed this conversation, put some comments in here. Let us know you love it. Share this with somebody else. People need to hear this. And we're just having conversations around with the family and those that are that we care about. And so we love you guys. Thanks for being on the journey with us. We will talk to you again. Peace.